Okay, welcome to tonight's chart focus video. Okay, let's have a quick look at the XJO first. Down 22 today. Couldn't kick on from that 4700 break, so we've closed under that figure again today, 46.87. Volume was only so-so. Then we're in no man's land here, whether it's a false break and we're back in this range, or whether it's very temporary and we're going to kick on again in the next day or so. Only time will tell. So I'm not going to do anything too much conviction just for the next day or so until we get a clear signal of where we're going. Right, first chart we'll have a look at is we'll revisit RXL. Seeing it's had a little bit of a rest today. We'll pull up, say, a 6-month chart. So it's dipped a fair bit today. Couldn't kick on. It actually tried to retest this 12-cent res early today and failed. Closed at 9495. So not a lot of volume in the dip today, so indicates maybe we're not all over with yet. Let's just have a look at an intraday chart. Maybe we'll throw some fibs on this to see if that will give us any clues of where we might dip to. So I thought I'd try a couple of different levels here. We'll go to this dip here and right on the 50 about here. So, and there was a little bit of previous resistance around that mark, so it could become support. So could suggest we're close to a bounce already. Next one's around 38's around the 8.5, something like that. Or we could draw it right back down to the initial break. So we'll go down to here, this for just before she took off from there. And still we're just under around the 62, so still suggesting there's a possibility of an area around here where we could bounce. Next one's low 8s, and the 38's right down here at 7s, which might well pick up that previous resistance there around the 7.5. So a few areas to keep in mind. We get a strong day, a strong night overnight, we might actually kick on from this fib here. I'll probably be looking at down around the 8.5, so I'd be surprised if it dips this far, but it's certainly still in play. You can see the volume down here. This is a 15-minute chart. Not a lot of volume at all really today. Probably the biggest 15-minute volume other than the open, if that's the open, was an up volume, and again at the end here was an actual up bar. So I don't think it's dead and buried yet. I've certainly lightened, only got a few back as it was dipping late in the afternoon, but yeah, still in play I think, and we'll see how that plays out in the next couple of days. Okay, next one I have a look at is ASX. Dumped today, so we'll go to the end of day. I think I've just lost my connection here, so hopefully it comes back up in a moment. I'm just going to pause this 1 minute. Okay, we're back up and running. ASX dumped today, as it dumped yesterday actually, so you got on short when it spiked after its takeover news from Singapore Stock Exchange, you'd be sitting on a fairly decent profit. Let's just look at the action today. I think I'll just pull a single day chart up and we'll go to, say, a minute chart. Okay, so pretty volatile today, some great trades in this. Dumped early, and this is where I called that it was looking a little oversold. It had 3 broker valuations come out in the morning, all significantly higher than this, so I was sort of looking for the bounce. Dumped pretty well early and hit under 40. I think I entered around the $40 mark. Hit 40, what do we got, 40.60 odd. I was probably out a little lower than that, I believe. I'm not sure where, but took some profits down here, as I think I tweeted that I'd already taken some off the table. I didn't trust it. There was some news floated around DJ News, I think around about the 11 o'clock mark, saying that the Greens wanted to oppose the takeover. So it was alert for the short entry, and once it broke that support there, 40.20, there's your intraday short entry. Could probably be even more conservative and wait for that break of that new low, which was down there at 39.90, and you still would have got quite a nice short out of that. I think when I short scalped this, I was out on the swing here, as it was so volatile. another massive dump, and again you could have even traded this little tight range. In fact, there's a couple of beautiful tight ranges here on the 1 minute chart, and I've spoken about tight ranges on the dailies, but some really good tight ranges even on the 1 minute chart or 5 minute chart that resulted in really good movements. This is very tradable both ways. You had a massive dump early. As soon as you see this swing here, a couple of higher highs on the candles, get your exit. If you were game, you could go long, and there were 39.40 down to almost over $1 on the dump, and probably almost $1 on the bounce. So some massive trades. Gain a nice little tight range, and then a small dump, and then this downtrend on the way all afternoon. But very tradable. Looking for these tight ranges intraday is almost as effective as on the end of day charts. They don't always work, of course, but you've got a really close stop if it does fail just out the other side of those ranges. So another one I noticed today that dumped after a break of a tight range was CPU. That's the CPU chart all day. Very tight range all day, and once it fell hard. So whether you took a break of here or here of your entry, 10.17, 10.16, that was a good 10 ticks on the dump. So some really good intraday volatility there. Another one we'll look at quickly is Worley's. Worley's was a news play today. I just thought I'd show this one just to reiterate how we can play some of these news plays. It was in a tight range most of the day. News came out here at about 2 o'clock, I think that's correct. At 2 o'clock was the chairman's address, or AGM address. Now it dumped early. Normally I'd like to see a little bit of a bounce and then a break of that new low, or vice versa high if we're going to go long. But wasn't really much of a bounce there. But there was a small bounce, so it hit. It was obvious that they didn't like it. It dumped pretty hard early. Hit 22.95, got back up to 23.03 or something. It's only bounced 10 cents. And then broke back down again. So you had to be pretty aggressive to get this one. I got a very small position in that. Covered down here, and you could, pretty obvious place to cover here. You get some really strong vertical action, and then it's found quite an obvious floor here. As soon as it makes a higher high on one of these bars, there's your signal. But then it bounced very little at all, and then broke back through this low again. So even if you missed this one, new low on news was this entry here, and there was another really good trade in it. So you're talking break of 22.55 odd, hit a low of 21.90 or so 60 odd, 65 cents, something like that if you nailed it all. But even if you took a nice little portion in the middle, which I did, really nice trades. So even if you miss that first one, rather than sort of try to jump in mid through this dump, I'd suggest you wait and look for the next entry. So a couple of really nice short trades on the news play. I've actually kept a small amount of these short overnight. Often with the news plays, if they're weak one day, there's at least 1 day follow on, not always, but be looking for that follow on tomorrow. Okay, might do a couple more. I think I'm pretty much running out of time already. Have a look at a couple of smaller ones that look interesting on the long side. IV8, we'll go back to the end of day chart. Okay, it reported today. It was a little indecisive, but seemed to be some fairly decent buying pressure. Looked like a decent swing here. Couldn't quite close near its highs or through that resistance there at 14, I think 314, but certainly want to watch. I'll be setting a 315 alert tomorrow, or 319 if you want to be a little less aggressive, and seeing if we can break through here. Okay, AJL was another one. Okay, so there's I think we're just looking at 6 months daily. Okay, to a 12 months daily. Okay, it looks like it's rolling, rounding here, forming a bit of a rounding bottom, a higher low here, possibly about to make a higher high. So and a relatively tight range, you could say, here for the last few months as well, I suppose. So resistance there at 218, 220. What's that one there? Probably that's a little high, 227. But say 218, 220 for now. It's closed at 216. So, and a couple of decent days volume here in the last couple of days. So looking for this one to possibly continue on this rounding shape in the next few days. Alright, we'll just look at one or two more before I run out of time. Rex, really good volume today, best volume in quite a while, and sitting on this resistance here at 121.5, so it's actually closed just above it at 122, so we might get a bit of upward momentum tomorrow with that one. WDS will be our last one. Okay, another one that's pretty well flatlined over the last few months, so formed a nice little base and appears to be breaking it, making a couple of higher lows. Today had some news and broke 64 res, so not a great deal of volume. We'll see if we can pull in a bit closer and see if we can get a bit better idea of the volume. A little bit more volume actually than the last week or two, but nothing major, so another one to sort of keep on watch for tomorrow. Alright, that's all I've got for you tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow.